The man of the moment, the new boss, the new sheriff of Gauteng, Panyaza Lesufi, just making his acceptance speech just shortly after being elected as the Premier of Gauteng during this morning's special sitting, or this afternoon's special sitting of the provincial legislature. Of course, this on the back of the resignation of David Makhura as Premier on Tuesday. Makhura's last day in office was today. He's facing, of course, that's Panyaza Lesufi now going ahead, as he outlined there, is facing a mammoth task in the months to come with all kinds of challenges that he has to tackle. And he said there he's going to go away with the provincial executive and decide on what are they going to do into the future. Let's discuss this change of guard now with political analyst Thabo Shole-Mashao. Thabo, good afternoon. Welcome to today, and thank you very much for your time. Long time no speak at this hour, as they say, but it's good to have you on today this afternoon. What's your overall sense of the transition from Makhura to Lesufi?
Thank you so much, Brother. Good afternoon to you and to the viewers. It has been a minute indeed. I make of it a very sober and mature decision from the African National Congress, particularly in Gauteng, to make this transition, taking into consideration that the 2024 elections are going to be grilling and they're going to be punishing for many political parties. So the ANC clearly introspected, and they reflected heavily on the outcomes of the possible outcomes of that election. As a result, they decided to put Panyaza Lesufi their best foot forward in this particular instance, and to make sure that there's a spring in their electoral step in convincing the people of Gauteng to consider them, given that in the previous election they had only managed to survive by the skin of the teeth with 50.1%. So this gives Panyaza an opportunity to be a huge billboard for the ANC in 2024 election. It was a very matured move, and one that has to be commended if the ANC is anything to go by. And I know a whole lot of people are seeing it as shifting of powers, but strategically speaking, this simply means that Panyaza has got about 20 months or so to tell the people of Gauteng why they should consider the ANC again in 2024.
In his speech now that both you and I were listening to, he touched on a number of points, but I want to begin here on the unity one, because towards the end he said the way the Provincial Executive Committee of the ANC has managed this transition is a demonstration of the unity that they've been approaching their setup here. Do you think that's correct?
I wouldn't call it unity. I would call it maturity, and I would call it compromise. And unity is a journey. It cannot be just achieved over the past few weeks after the election of the Gauteng ANC leadership. The cracks are still to follow. We are going to see them more divided in months to come. In this particular instance, they managed to do what the ANC does best: close ranks when elections are looming, and to face the enemy head on. That we can commend them for, but it is definitely not unity at all. It is not a sign of unity.
The maturity you're referring to, will it help him? Because he said just now that he does not see any reason for not continuing to work together with his fellow executive members. Remember, he's been part of the provincial government executive over the last two administrations as an MEC for education. So do you think that maturity will stand him in good stead going forward from a governance perspective?
Certainly. Panyaza, and you would remember this quite well, far better than me, Braden, because you've got institutional memory. His maturity has been visible throughout the years, including when you'd remember when they kicked out Julius Malema after that famous 2011 conference, the 24th National Conference of the ANC Youth League, subsequently disciplinary hearings of the top echelons. And Panyaza was the very first to say, bring Julius Malema back. We need him in the ANC. So that is definitely a sign of maturity from his side. He has just also cited in the speech that you and I have been listening to right now that he worked very well with Khumera Molefe for the Democratic Alliance, and he has somehow stretched and reached out to them and extended a leaf of cooperation to say we are working together. That's also another sign of maturity. He did say that they won't always agree, but they will always they should fall back on the knowledge that their political ideologies are different. And that's also another sign. So that works in his stead, definitely. And it somehow puts him head and shoulders above the rest, especially on the benches of the African National Congress. He's the right person to reach out to people. Recently, Braden, we know that Panyaza, together with TK and TK Ngiza and other members of the ANC Gauteng leadership, they had reached out to the EFF, and whatever concessions were made in that meeting, we are seeing the results thereof right now in various local authorities in Gauteng. So that simply means that he has hit the ground running immediately after becoming the chairperson of the ANC leadership. And it means that that maturity is a powerful tool in his arsenal that he will dispense of only when the fire is really getting too heated. But it's a very powerful tool in Panyaza's hands right now.
Yeah, let's do what he did as well now and just pause for a moment and reflect on David Makhura, the man who's just vacated the seat after 8 years. Panyaza, a short while ago, did pay tribute to David Makhura, describing him as one of the humblest servants of the people and highlighting issues of integrity and humility in terms of Makhura, saying that Makhura led from the front and had impact. What do you make? What do you make of Makhura's term?
It was a mixed bag, Braden. It was a mixed bag. Definitely not his finest hour, especially in the second term. The PPE scandal that most South Africans will know of. Many will say it was not properly handled. And equally so, given that the province is not doing extremely well as far as its economics are concerned. And also the ANC, for some reason, for a number of months on end, various structures of the ANC in Gauteng have been calling for his head. So this does not come as a coincidence, or as Panyaza would love to afford him the generosity and say that he has been leading these discussions. Perhaps he led them, but he read the writing on the wall some time ago, easily over 14 months ago. And I'm being kind when I say that various structures, particularly the younger ones, have been calling for his head and insulting him and calling for his head. But his term has been a mixed bag of the good and bad. The good side of it is that he realized that township economy is a necessity in a province like Gauteng, and he went to pull out someone as experienced as Park Stau to lead that very important portfolio in order to inject some enthusiasm, not only on township economy, but in the general economics of the Gauteng province. So that was a plus. You'd know that he had made some interesting political enemies right from the beginning of his term, 2015, when he fired MEC Bupape. You'd remember that scandal very well, who had a huge dossier, and she was not allowed to read that dossier in the Gauteng legislature. You'd know that there was a cabinet reshuffle. You'd know also about Bandile Masuku, who left not with a gleeful smile on his face, and to a large extent you could see that there was no love lost between him and the outgoing Premier Makhura. So his reign was a mixed bag, and if one had to call it, I would just put it at 47%. But many would say his demeanor and his sense of humility was so great, and his leadership was wonderful, simply because we are used to underperformance in the ANC leadership. Hence, we would rate it and overly exaggerate his leadership style.
Yeah, the point you are making there is very interesting, because as you were talking, I'm thinking of Life Esidimeni, you know, with Qedani Mahlangu as the MC for Health at the time, not only the PPE. So the mixed bag nature of his reign, that's David Makhura's reign as a premier, it's very, very, very interesting. I just want us to pause. Don't go anywhere, Thabo. I just want us to pause for us to be able to play the moment when Aubrey Lidwaba, the judge, made the announcement after the voting a little bit earlier, just for our viewers to get a sense of what happened inside the provincial legislature a short while ago. Then we'll carry on with our discussion. I just got 2 more questions to ask you before I let you go. Let's take a listen to that moment when Judge Aubrey Lidwaba made the announcement in the legislature.
I'm informed that there were supposed to be 73 votes. And as we did the counting, it was clear that 12 members were absent. And as we looked at the papers, the ballot papers, 1 member abstained. And we were left with 60 votes. And those 60 votes are as follows: 22 and 38. 22 for Honorable Msimanga and 38 for Hendrik.
Moment there, Thabo, when Panyaza Lesufi was being embraced and there was lulating and singing by, I'm sure, the ANC benches, from the ANC benches, for him being the 7th Premier of Gauteng since the dawn of democracy in 1994. Now, my next question is the following to you. After analyzing his level of maturity, that's helping him. He's calling for ethical leadership, he's calling for integrity, and he's coming across with a great sense of humility as well, currently as he's speaking. Now, most of in fact, the whole Executive Council, he's just been a member of that. He's been a colleague. He's been MEC for Education. If I may risk saying so, the much-loved MEC for Education. Remember when there was a reshuffle and he was made Finance MEC? There was an uproar by parents, student organizations and teachers and said, no, we want Panyaza to remain as MEC for Education. And David Makhura had to do a quick U-turn on that appointment. So now he's now been elevated to the position of Premier. Do you think he's going to find it easy as he looks at the current provincial executive with 2024 in mind and the fact that there's a need for new blood as well, fresh ideas for the ANC in the province? Do you think he's going to find it easy? It's going to be an easy task for him as he reassigns portfolios?
It's not going to be an easy task at all, but I think someone like Panyaza is really up to the task. It won't be easy because there is a whole lot of disillusionment with the ANC being at the helm of government. A number of people are complaining about basic service delivery, jobs, safety, the issue of crime in Gauteng, and various other ills that are somehow riddling over this beautiful province. However, Panyaza, I suspect that his popularity will come in handy in order to hit the ground running, in order to convince the people to support him and support his leadership team, his leadership collective, as the ANC would like to put it. But I think in this instance, it's not going to be an easy task at all. The task will be made mammoth by various factors, Braden. One, the gap that is opening in education. He has to think very clearly who he puts there, because he can't be a premier and be the MEC of education, despite however popular he may be at this present moment. So whoever he puts there must be someone who is going to match his skills, if not surpass him. Number two, the issue of crime. only a few days ago, if not yesterday or 2 days ago, we heard Bradeni Nekuruleni about a police station that was robbed, where policemen were robbed inside a police station, and the firearms were taken and so on. That just makes the residents of this province even more sensitive to the fact that the leadership is lacking, particularly where crime and safety is concerned. So he's got a mountain to climb. It won't be a Sunday at the park for Panyaza Lesufi. He's got a lot of work to do. He's got very limited time within which to execute those tasks, and that is only about 20 months or so, as I had suggested earlier. So his task is unenviable. His task is mammoth, and if anything else, he will need every single member of the executive team that he will choose to be at their best. Not just that, but also those where in local government authorities where the ANC is in power, of late the city of Johannesburg.
I guess he's going to be closely watched, because in his, let's call it his maiden speech, but it's his acceptance speech a short while ago, he spoke about the importance of ethical leadership. He said we need that kind of... So looking at his executive, he's going to have to use the lens of ethical leadership to see if he's surrounded. He's going to have a team like that, fresh ideas and new ideas. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you watch these developments very closely, Thabo. The new MEC for education, I'm asking this because it's a very important sector. Who do you think should be considered, if you have an idea? If not, it's also okay.
You know, Braden, I never thought I'd feel like I'm on the spot ever. You managed to pull that one on me. But I mean, I think you're the first person to do that. But I think he's got a number of options looking at him. You have a young lady called Fasiha Hassan, who was leading the Fees Must Fall. You'd remember her from the Fees Must Fall era and generation. She's now sitting as an MPL in Gauteng. That would be a very refreshing choice of someone with passion for education, someone who's young, and someone who will bring much needed diversity in that executive. If I were to advise him, and that's what I would go for, in order for him to at least inject the enthusiasm that he has.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's good to put you on the spot now and again, Thabo. So that's Thabo Shole-Mashao. But you did well. You did well there, because that name has propped up in other conversations I've been having with other people since yesterday, when we knew that Panyaza Lesufi will be the new premier. What about a Fasiha Hassan in the new executive? But maybe as an education MEC, who knows? We'll have to wait and see what Panyaza Lesufi will do. Thank you very much for your insights and time here. That's Thabo Shole-Mashao, just giving us some of his analysis post the ascendancy to the premiership of Gauteng province of Panyaza Lesufi.